Hello, this is our presentation on body cameras and whether or not police body cameras should be fitted with facial recognition software. Here we have some basic background information about police body cameras. On a daily basis, police body cameras are used to record their interactions with the public, to document various events as evidence, and promote accountability and transparency within the police force. With that being said, here are some arguments that we will be discussing in this presentation. Some of the flaws with police body camera facial recognition software can include software flaws, a high cost due to having to switch softwares, breach of privacy within users, and increased risk of police complacency.
Number one, flawed software. Body cameras are not infallible. Their software can have many weaknesses. If there's incorrect lighting or angle, which is likely to be present in a confrontation, that can cause it to misidentify someone. They have varying accuracy based on ethnicity. Noticeably, a study showed that body cameras have a 7 times higher inaccuracy rate when when trying to identify people with darker skin. Um, there are particular disabilities that cause different facial features, such as, for example, Down syndrome, that can cause someone to be more likely to be misidentified as someone else who would have the same thing in the system, in the database of faces. And again, different facial expressions can cause facial recognition to be a problem. Like, it's like why they have you make a neutral expression when you're getting your ID photo taken or at like your passport. As for codes of ethics, 1.03 and 1.04, no, 1.03 and 1.4 of the ACM codes of ethics approve software only if it is safe, tested, and benefits the public without causing harm. It fails this check because, again, it causes harm if you're misidentified, which it's pretty easy for body camera software to do. And 1.4, be fair and take action not to discriminate. Again, people with darker skin can have up to a 7 times higher misidentification rate, and people with certain disabilities will also be easier for it to misidentify. And then 2.07 and 4.01 of the software engineering code of ethics. 2.07, report significant social concerns in software to employers or clients. And 4.01, temper all technical judgments by the need to support and maintain human values.
High cost for unreliable results. Cost and maintenance issues. Body cams with facial recognition cost up to $800 each, plus there are extra costs for training, data storage, and privacy rules. Since police rely on third-party companies, it's hard to switch. So it just adds more cost to already expensive stuff. Code of ethics. Be honest about problems, respect legal and ethical rules, and give clear, realistic estimates.
So right now we're going to go over our third point, which is the privacy concerns that come with facial recognition software, especially in the usage by police in body cams. The first of which is the main way that facial recognition companies and softwares gather their data, which is through web scraping, which is the act of essentially just gathering as much data from the open internet as you possibly can. And this includes social media profiles. This includes LinkedIn, Instagram, all of the things that you post every day ever. All of those images, all of those videos are taken, downloaded, compiled, and used not only for their softwares to detect people, but used to link faces with names so that later, if someone uses their technologies, they can easily have link a name to a face based off of an online profile or something. Now, this web scraping practice is a legal gray area, and really because it's a class kind of a thing that affects a lot of people. Instead of an individual suing them, usually these facial recognition software companies are getting sued by social media websites and tech giants that don't want them to scrape their websites and data because they own it and they want to profit off of it in their own way. So there's that part of it, which is just how it works and how ethically or morally ambiguous that is. But there's also the legal aspect of having live facial recognition for police officers in certain situations where the person is not a criminal and they don't have to identify themselves. Usually, some states have stop and identify laws. I believe it's 24 out of 52-ish states that have it. But the other 25 plus states that don't have it would could create some situations where your rights to privacy is being violated by the police if they use this technology. As for code of ethics, it's very simple. Respect people's privacy, respect people's data, and honor confidentiality.
Now moving on to over-reliance on this type of software. Now, over-reliance can weaken officers' investigation and critical thinking skills. When you blindly start trusting technology to identify people, you're going to stop developing your own personal judgment and attention to details. Second, facial recognition often gives a false sense of accuracy. Just because a system says someone is a match doesn't mean it's accurate. Technology is prone to malfunctions. It can be wrong in identifying certain individuals, especially targeting people of color. If officers take these results at face value without questioning any of the details, innocent people can end up being treated like suspects, or worse, end up in jail. Body cams also reduce accountability. If something goes wrong, it's easy to say that it's the software's fault. This mindset shifts the responsibility away from the officers, even though they're the ones trying to catch the criminals. Overdependence also raises major ethical concerns. We're talking about technology that can track people constantly, even when they're innocent, violating individual privacy. Now, speaking of ethical concerns, the use of body cams violates certain principles of both the software engineering and ACM code of ethics. First off, 1.05, facial recognition used in the process of catching criminals has raised widespread concern from the public due to issues like racial bias and unjust arrests. Violation number 1. 3.10. If these body cams are implemented without thorough testing and it malfunctions, then it raises the questions of, to what extent are you really willing to use a machine to do your job? Violation 2. 1.3. Relying too much on facial recognition, even when it's not 100% accurate, isn't honest or trustworthy. Violation 3. 1.4. Studies show that facial recognition often discriminates against marginalized groups, as I mentioned before, especially people of color. This just reinforces stereotypes and biases. Violation 4. And finally, 1.02. Avoid harm. These systems can wrongly accuse innocent people of being criminals, harming their lives. Violation number 5. Not only are body cams not 100% reliable, but they also fail to meet the ethical standards set by competing professionals.
In conclusion, despite how many positive body cams may come with, they also come with a lot of net negatives if you include the facial recognition software. Not only may the software be flawed to begin with, but also they have a massive high cost of upkeep to actually keep the facial recognition going. Not only that, but it may also dull the senses of the people who use it, and they also deny a lot of ethical standards that our society upholds technology to, such as the massive breach of privacy. Despite how much body cams may seem to be able to handle with facial recognition, their ineffectiveness combined with many other side effects make them a highly contentious debate. Here are our sources. Thank you for watching.